Hey everybody, it's Jesse, and today I haven't even done anything yet, and I already have one thumbs down on this video. So I'm not mad about it. I just wonder why. What did I do? Why did I have a thumbs down? It was already there like 10 minutes ago. So if you do dislike one of my videos, let me know why. I don't even care if you're mean about it. I'll only cry a little bit. But let me know why. And if you don't want to call me out like in front of other people because you're afraid, people will get mad about it or whatever, just direct message me. I won't call you out if you direct message me and are critical or whatever, because I want to make this stream better. So I really, really appreciate all the positive feedback that I get. And lately I've been getting a lot of positive feedback. I've had some direct messages on Twitter and emails, and you all have been just really awesome and encouraging, and I really appreciate that. But if you don't like what I'm doing, if you have 2 minutes to explain why, that would really help me out. All right, so I want to do two things today. One thing obviously is make these custom post types like the title of this stream says. The other thing though is I want to show you an error that I inadvertently caused when I set up the load balancer, and that Sebastian caught. So so Sebastian, he's often in the live chat. I don't even remember the last time he missed a live chat, but last night Sebastian direct messaged me on Twitter and sent me a screenshot of some errors that he was seeing, and I had not seen these errors before. And once I did a little bit of research, I found out what the problem is. And so I think this is a problem that would be easy to have if you're doing load balancing. I mean, I've been working with Next for a while now, probably at least 6 months I've been working with Next, maybe longer. What month is it? Yeah, probably about 6 months. And I've read through a lot of their documentation, and I never saw this before. So what's happening is this. Let me show you. Is it not going to show up now? Manifest. I might have to show you on the... Yeah, it's not going to show up here. It'll show up on the server. So let me bring in my... oops. Actually, I think I could have done it here. Yep. Let me bring this in, and I'll go to one of these servers, and let me change the color real quick, because I know I had some... I think it's... No. There we go. If you're using iTerm and you press Command I, it'll bring this up and you can change your colors. I haven't figured out how to get it to persist and change everything at once. I haven't really taken that much time to try to figure it out though. Colors, there we go. Maybe a week or two ago, I had somebody that said that this black background was just killing their eyes, so I want to lighten it up a bit. And so basically, I'm going to go into one of the servers. So if you haven't seen the other videos where I set up load balancing, right now, this site, which I'll show you here in a second. So this site that we've been working on for a while, I'm doing this for anybody who's new, is a React site, and it's running Next.js, which basically lets you like scaffold your React app, and it provides server-side rendering and routing right off the bat. So it does a lot of cool stuff for you, so you don't have to worry about that, and you can just get started and get to working on your app. And I guess I had it right here too. I didn't have to bring that one over. So once I split it onto two different droplets on DigitalOcean. So there's two instances of this app running, and then I set up a load balancer I kind of use easy mode. I set up the DigitalOcean load balancer. It's like $20 a month, and it makes it really easy to do load balancing. So at some point, I would love to do like a live stream of setting up a load balancer, maybe like from scratch. And but for now, that was a good first step for me into the world of load balancing. But what happened that I didn't expect was this. Actually, let's go. So I'm going to open up this file. Okay, so when you build your next app, so when you run, npm run build or yarn build or whatever you want to run it, I think it's next build. So however you run it, it creates a unique ID, a unique build ID. So my deployment process for this is that I develop locally, I push all the changes to a GitHub repo, and then I log on to the server. I pull down the changes from GitHub, I build, and then I start the app. So on the server, on one server, there's one build ID, and then you switch to the other one. This is the other one. I'm not logged in right now, but I can log in. The other one, I have another build ID. So they're two different IDs. So then what would happen is I would come in here and I would click around, and React would detect that the build ID was not the ID that it expected. So this error wouldn't happen all the time. It would only happen, from what I could tell from what I read, I think it was happening because sometimes part of the site was loading from one server and part from another server. So like, not every page has to load every resource, right? So you might get, one request would get sent to one server, one droplet, and then a request you make a little bit later when you go to a different page might get sent to another one. That's what seemed like was happening, and then Next detected like, hey, there's a difference in these build ID numbers, and it was giving me lots of errors. Okay, so I wonder if I can show. I'd like to show you what the errors look like in case you get them, so you know. Let me look here at the screenshot that Sebastian sent. So let me bring this over. It's kind of small. I'll try to zoom in. Okay, so I can make this bigger. So these are the errors that I was getting. See, invalid build ID. Basically, there were actually like two forms of this error. It was displaying sometimes like this, and sometimes it was displaying another way. But basically, both times it was saying something about a build error, build ID error. Okay, so now we've got rid of those, and here's how I fixed it. So I was a little bit proud of myself when I thought about this. So I didn't come up with it completely on my own. I found this issue. So somebody had a similar issue, and they reported it here in the GitHub repo for Next. And then after some possible solutions and suggestions, down here at some point, maybe right around here. Okay, so here's the suggestion to use a different build ID. So manually add a build ID that's the same. Okay, the solution number one was, well, just build once and then copy that over and run that on two different servers. But that's not, that wasn't going to work with my deploy process, right? So I didn't want to change my deployment process. I wanted to find a different solution. So the solution was just add something in, add a step in to your build process that changes that ID to whatever you want it to be and make sure it's the same. So the suggestion somewhere in the documentation for Next, it also suggested you could use the ID for the commit, for the latest commit to like the head to the master branch in GitHub. And I thought that's really cool. So That's exactly what I did. So check out my package JSON here, and here's what I added. Just this part. So in the build process, now I add this. So this command, get rev parse head, just gives you the ID. And I know some of you probably know all this, and this is old news for you, but there's a lot of people who are just starting out who might not be confident in their command line skills. So I'm going to just kind of explain what this does. So I'm going to copy this command in here, and if you see this, it just returns the ID of the latest commit. So that's what we want. We want this kind of unique ID, but we want it to be different for each build, but the same on both servers. Okay, and then we're just automatically putting this into this file. So if you're not familiar with this, basically, you put this sign in here. What is this? The greater than sign, and then we specify the file, and so whatever this returns becomes the contents of this file. So it worked. I now have those errors are gone. The build IDs are now the same. So anyway, I thought that was that was a tricky problem for me. When I first saw that last night, I thought, what is going on? I have no idea, what this is, but not too bad after a little search. So anyway, I definitely wanted to point that out because I feel like if anybody had been following what I did with load balancing, they probably got a similar error if they were using Next as well, and I didn't want to leave anyone hanging without bringing that up and explaining what I did. So this is all on GitHub now. You could check it out, and add this to your project if you need to, if you're having the same error. I'm going to check the live chat really quickly because I have some comments in here before we get into the custom post types. Oh man, Martin says 2 hours way too much. This is a very good topic. I liked the video before Wordpress API, but really 2 hours is way too much. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I don't know. Let me know. Do you all like when I have the long streams, like 2 hours, or do you like it when I used to have a half-hour streams? So when I first started streaming, I tried to set a half-hour limit. So I would code for like 25 minutes, and then I would answer questions for 5 minutes, and then I'd be done. Because I thought the same way, like, hey, nobody's going to watch a recording of a 2-hour video, but a half hour is more doable. So let me know what you think. It's just some of the more like detailed things that I had to do, the more complicated things, there was no way I could get it done in 25 minutes, so I just kind of kept going so that we could do the whole thing. I didn't want to break it up and have one thing take like 3 or 4 days. So let me know. I can definitely change it up if you all think it should be shorter. Fine. Otherwise, I'll kind of keep it going how I am doing. I would kind of like to cut it back so it's more like an hour, not the 2 hours, because that is a lot. And I found, like, honestly, like after I'm talking for 2 hours, my voice starts to go. So I think if I did that every day, I would lose my voice by the end of the week. So it's not the end of the world if my throat hurts a little bit from this, but I think it would be better if I still had a voice by the end of the week. All right. A lot of people saying hi. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Okay. Uganch. Not sure how to pronounce that. Hope I pronounced it right. Uganch says, please start the technology from scratch. That would help beginners and then increase up their level that everyone... Up the level, that would help everyone. Thanks, you rock. Oh, awesome! Thank you for the positive feedback there. I really would like to start from scratch, and I probably will end up starting from scratch soon when I move to my next project. So this stream in particular is just what I have to do at work anyway. I try to pick the most interesting thing that I'm going to do each day and save it for this live stream time. and I get a lot of the more boring, like copy and paste type of things out of the way early on in the day. So sometimes we're doing more complex stuff, and sometimes we'll be doing beginner stuff. It depends on what I have to work on that day. But I know I've been saying this and promising this for a while, but I am going to do some tutorial videos that'll be pre-recorded, and in those videos I will go over basic stuff, and they'll be really targeted. Some of them will be targeted just at people who are really at the beginning stages. So that is coming. I have some outlines already ready for those videos. I just need some quiet time to do the videos. I started to do one, and then all my kids came home, and it was just way too noisy. And I don't have an office at home. I need like to make a little office space where I could do this. So anyway, okay, so Jordan says 30 to 60 minutes. Okay, that's reasonable. That's kind of the range that I think is probably best for me. Rohan says, I actually love these 2.5 hour stream, but some topics can certainly be half or 1 hour. Okay, cool. I kind of agree with that. It does depend on what we're doing as to the length. Let's see. Best to make sure topics are covered completely, but an hour max would be good. Okay, so an hour max, an hour, 1.5 hours, break it up. Okay, so it seems like right around the 1 hour range seems to be kind of like the median of what people are saying. So I'm going to try to keep things like an hour or less. I will say a lot of the time at the end does come like we kind of get into a discussion about things. So the actual coding time sometimes isn't that much, but maybe we can break it up. Maybe there can actually be a scheduled like question and answer time, so that we can split up and have videos that are just coding and then videos that are more Q&A. I don't know. I have to think about that and see, when that would be good to do. I do like the idea. Jordan says break it up into different streams, multiple streams per day. So like instead of making one long stream that's 2 hours, I could do 4 half-hour streams. So yeah, that would be a little bit more work just to set all this times up and to make like video thumbnails for that. But I guess I could use the same thumbnail and just change part 1, part 2, part 3. So that's a good idea. I'll think about that one as well. Sometimes I don't know ahead of time how long a certain thing will take. Rohan says spontaneous Q&A is better. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The scheduled Q&A might not work out. If we do get questions, they just kind of flow out of what we're doing. Danny says, will you be doing a WordPress development stream? Yeah, so I'm going to do that right now. Sometimes I'm not going to do a dedicated stream for WordPress like every so often, but every day. But occasionally I will need to do WordPress stuff because I work with WordPress websites sometimes. So I will be incorporating that. So let me get to it. It's already been. I'm talking here about cutting down my stream time, and I've already spent the first almost 20 minutes on. Kind of beside the topic. I mean, now we haven't. It was important. We were trying to break down and troubleshoot an error, so that was valuable. But I do want to get to it in case somebody's joining and expecting WordPress. I don't want them to be disappointed. So here I have. Let me move this over, and just to show you how we're going to do some of these. So I already have some custom post types running, and I'm going to bring over my WordPress site as well to show you what post types I have running and what it kind of looks like here. So I don't know how familiar you all are with WordPress. It's a content management system that's built on PHP. And normally the way you use WordPress is you have a theme and that's rendered. It's PHP templates, and it's all tied in here with this admin panel. And that's how normal WordPress website works. Normally, like, you click a link, it's a page refresh, and everything's rendered on the server using PHP. What I'm using WordPress as is I'm using the API. So all the content still goes in here, and basically it's still running PHP behind the scenes, but I don't use PHP to render anything. Okay, the display portion of it, what people see, what the client sees, for instance, this is built with React, and it lives on a different server than this. So when this page loads, a request is sent to WordPress saying, I want this certain data. And then it comes back in JSON format, and then I handle on this end sorting it out and rendering it all. So WordPress now is in, I think the term people use is headless. So we're using it as a headless CMS. So WordPress isn't usually a headless CMS, but we're using it in that way here. Is that all we care about is content going in here, and we don't care about display here. We do all the display stuff here. So that's just a quick overview in case you're wondering what, how WordPress ties in with React and what we're doing. I'm not going to go into a lot of the why of doing it like this, because I've covered it before in videos and in the comments to some of the videos early on. But just to say a little, I've found that when I make sites like this, they are much faster than traditional WordPress sites that I've done. And I'm able to do different things. Like yesterday we set up, it's not live yet, but yesterday we set up a live search that just automatically gave us search results, and it was really cool. Not that that's not possible with a normal WordPress site, but this gives me a lot of freedom to use the build tools that I want and be able to do everything in JavaScript, using React, instead of having to do a lot of the templating in PHP. Okay, now, if someone was really good with PHP, maybe they'd like to do it a different way, but I'm not great with PHP, but I know enough to do custom post types. So let me show you what a custom post type is, in case you're not sure. So this is one custom post type. It's called nearby events. So this isn't default in WordPress. I just made this name up, nearby events. We'll go to add one. Okay, and I've also added some custom fields, and we'll probably add some of these today. I did not code these custom fields in PHP. So what we'll do is I'll show you how to code in PHP the custom post types. But then I'll show you the plugin I use as well to do all these fields. For me, since I'm not really a PHP guy, the custom post types are pretty easy to do, but all the custom fields it was just too much work for me. It made more sense to go with a plugin. And also, if you're not familiar with WordPress plugins, we'll cover it, in a little while, so it'll make more sense. But basically, I can just set out, here's what I want, here's all the fields that I want. This gets put in here, and then the data, I get the data basically like this. This isn't the same, this is data for different custom post type, but it gives you the same idea, is that this is how I get the data that gets put into here. And then I can do whatever I want with this in React. Okay? So does that make sense? I'll check the live stream. If this is completely confusing to you, let me know in the live chat, and I can let me know what's confusing, and I can explain it. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going and show you how we set up these post types. So there's probably a little delay, so I'm going to wait just a few more seconds here to see if anybody has a question at this point. Because if you're lost at this point, I'd rather try to catch you up a little bit than you stay lost. Let's see. Okay, Rohan says you just request content on APIs. Probably is maybe overkill though, but better than learning a new CMS. You just request content. I'm not sure if that was in response. Was that in response to Danny or what? Also, yeah, it probably is overkill. But in this particular case, I didn't just need to make a site. I needed to make a site that was very impressive. Is there because of the circumstances surrounding why I got this project and everything? I needed to make it a very impressive site that did more than a normal site would. So that's part of the reason why I went with this as opposed to just a normal WordPress site. There are some other really good reasons why, and I think I went over those in previous videos, so I'll not go over them again here. But if you are thinking like Rohan that maybe this is overkill for just a normal website, I don't completely disagree with that. But if you can make something better and you have the time to do it and the ability, why not do it? All right, so I'm going to continue. I didn't have anybody say. Okay, so that Rohan said that was in response to Danny, so that's what I thought. I just wanted to get some clarification. Okay, Jake says overkill maybe. It depends on whether or not you're doing edits or passing the site off to clients. Yeah. Okay, Jake. I'm glad that you said that. Jordan also mentions building custom CMS is a lot of work. Definitely a lot of work. And Jake says WordPress really easy to understand for non-techie people. Good. I'm glad that you both brought up those points because this is exactly why I chose WordPress as the CMS because it's so easy for non-tech people to use. I'm not going to be maintaining this site in terms of content, which is great. I don't ever want to maintain content on a site. I just want to build new sites and make them better. So other people, so grad students who are getting their degree here, I work at a university, who are getting their master's degree here and are trying to make a little bit extra money, while they're in school so they can pay their rent and everything, they're going to be updating the content. So the people updating this are constantly going to change. It's probably going to be a new person every year or every 2 years. They may or may not have any experience. Okay, so they're not getting their degree in anything computer related. So they need something that's as simple as possible. So the idea is I make pretty much everything that makes sense editable through WordPress. And then I make some tutorial videos so that the new person would just be able to watch, a playlist of tutorials and they would be able to go in here and make any edits. So I'm trying to make it as easy as possible and make kind of restrictions. So I have restrictions on some post types, like if you upload an image that's, a certain size, if it's not at least, let's say, 600 pixels wide, then it won't display because I don't want pixelated looking images on the site. So even if somebody were to upload, a really small image because they don't realize, the quality of images and how that works on websites, then there's some protection that won't make the site look bad. Okay, so some of the fields don't allow HTML, it strips it out. So there's some protections in there like that. So setting it up like this definitely makes it easier for people to enter content, and then it also gives me a lot of control over how that content's displayed, and it takes that control away from the WordPress editor, which in this case we want, because it would be very easy for someone who didn't really know anything about websites to kind of make it look bad. I mean, not that they would mean to, but it would be easy. If they could just go in and put a bunch of HTML in and change the theme and everything like you normally could do on a WordPress site, that wouldn't be great. So, all right, I see there's some questions. I'm going to come back to the questions in the live chat. So I see there's some discussion going on there, but I want to get to this. I'll come back at the end and kind of join in the discussion a bit. Let me show you now that we've seen the custom post types, what it's going to look like. I'm going to show you how we make them. I know I briefly went through this maybe last week at some point. I just kind of showed it. Now we're actually going to make some things with this. And then we're going to add the fields to it, and then we're going to see what it looks like when it comes in the API. So right here, I've just been making a list. I've been going through the site and making a list of all the sections that right now you can't edit through WordPress that need to be added. I have two ideas for how to do this. Some of the sections would probably work well if I just make them a page, because if it's a section that won't be repeated, so for instance, like this section here is going to be an intro section. I always want this section to just be about a paragraph. Okay, so I can make this section just be a page and not even necessarily a custom post type. It would just be a page with the name resources intro. Okay, we could give it that name. And then I could pull that page based on the slug, which is kind of like a string version of an ID. WordPress gives every page and post an ID that's a number, but then they also give it a slug, which is always a string that is a unique identifier. So in this case, I would search for this name of this page. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do the pages though right now because I don't have to custom code those. So that's not as nice, I think, to do on the video. But for sections that are going to repeat, so like in, is it events? No, sorry, courses. Okay, so courses, some of these sections will be static pretty much, and so we could just make them a page, but some of them, like these, are basically the same thing repeated over and over again, right? So it's just text. I did have a request to add some images in here, but I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to change how this looks to fit with that. So that's coming, but for now at least, these are all just going to be repetitive sections. So that's perfect candidate for a custom post type, so that we can set, okay, we just need a title, and then we need text. Just very simple. Now some of these like have a little bit of more custom formatting, like this has, this quote here. So there are going to be some that if somebody knows what they're doing, they could throw some HTML in here and it could work. I'll have to make sure that I have the style set properly on this end for it to work. But so I want to leave this, whatever we make as the input for this, we want to make it so that HTML is able to be put in. So we'll make that like a WYSIWYG editor. So I think this is a good candidate to do first. So let's do that. And I've already added it to the list. I think I'm just going to call it Ministry Tracks. So I know there's some stuff going on in the live chat, so I will get to it. I just want to kind of push ahead with this now so that I can try to keep this to about an hour total for the live stream. So what I'm going to do, basically this makes a new custom post type. This portion here is basically a thing that you need to change. There's one portion at the bottom which basically initializes everything. Okay, so this you only need to add one time. This section down here, I'm just going to move down so we're very clear that this is a new section, and these are custom taxonomies. I'm not going to do custom taxonomies today. I don't think I need these for anything on the site at this point. So as long as you add this one time at the bottom here to init everything, you can just put, all of your post types in one big object. I guess that's what, I'm not sure what this is in PHP. Okay, so one big function. So this is create new type function. So yeah. All right, so it all has to go in that function. Sorry, I'm just like trying to make sure that I know what's going on in the PHP and can explain it as best I can. I am not a PHP developer, so if you know more about PHP than I do, which is likely, just bear with me here. I know enough PHP to make things change in WordPress and upload files on a small website. That's about it. So I'm going to take this, I just copied this, and I'm going to paste it below, and I'm going to do some kind of batch editing here. So you see, basically in this point, I'll go through them all. Oops, I don't want to. So some of these are going to be singular and some plural. So what I found is it's easiest to just select the singular, and then the S on the end will come in. So if you shoot, I don't have this in a repo. Maybe I'll make like a gist or something and make this available in case you want to add this to WordPress and make your own post type. So I'll make a note of that right now and make that available if you want, because I imagine it would be super hard to try to like look at this on the video and type it all out as I'm moving it around. Okay. I may already have this somewhere in GitHub and just have forgotten about it, but in case I don't, I'll add it, and then I'll add a link in this video. So basically at this point, I'm just going to type in the name that I want for this. Ministry tracks. Whoops. Okay, so now I'll go through this. So we're giving it the official name, right? Ministry tracks. These names up here, these are going to be the ones that like you usually see displayed in the admin panel. That's why, like, you know, this looks like normal text. Okay, it's not you know, we're not doing like camel casing or anything like that because we want this to display, you know, in a manner that's intelligible to people who don't know anything about code in the admin side. So this is the singular name, and this is, let me bring this over here so I can, it'll still be easier if I give you like a side by side to show you what these mean. Okay, so the name, shoot, I need to get this big enough. There we go. Alright, so your name is going to display here, right? Your add new, alright, it's going to see like add new, whatever you want to say here. So you could change this if you wanted. Okay? You don't have to keep the defaults, right? When you go to, you know, edit the item, do this. So you get the idea of all these are going to show up somewhere in the admin panel. Now down here, these are going to be the names that like you'll use when you make a request to the API, or if you were going to do other things like make another PHP plugin to do something else, or even if you're making a traditional WordPress site and you were going to render these in PHP templates and things. These are what you'll use to reference that. So we just need to change ministry, and I don't remember if I usually do hyphens or underscores or camel case. So let's see what I did here. Okay, I did a hyphen. Great. I'm not sure. What's the convention in PHP? Is it usually underscores or is it hyphens? I see some underscores here. At this point, I've already done it differently, so I don't really want to change it because then I'll have to change code in other places. But just know this may not be the conventional way to do it in PHP, just in terms of style. So this is actually, you know, this is registering the post type. We're giving it the options here. Okay, so these options, some of these, it just depends on what you want to do. So you might not need all of these. But they're pretty, some of them are pretty like self-explanatory. Other ones you might want to check out the documentation. There's so much documentation for WordPress stuff, so you'll be able to find exactly how to do this. Has archive true, right? This means, is this post type going to have that archive function? If you see, like, on a lot of blogs, you can go back to the archive to, like, go back to the post from October 2016, right? So do we want it to do that? Yes, we want it to do that. I don't really know if I'll use that function, but in case I do, I'm just adding that. Is this public? Okay, so you can have post types that aren't meant to be public. They just, you're tracking data in the admin panel. You don't want people to see it. You got to be logged in and stuff. So we want this to be public, and then we say supports, and these are going to be the fields in here. So I have actually taken these out for this post type, but normally, let me show you a post. So by default, this is kind of the fields that you have. I actually added some up here. But by default, you'd have, right, your title. So that's what this is talking about. You have your editor here. You have, and I may have disabled excerpt. So excerpt is just a smaller text input area where you could put in a custom excerpt for your post. Otherwise, I think usually it's set to just take like the first so many characters and use that if you don't set it. And then the thumbnail. So you can add or take away these, whatever you want it to have. I think some of these are probably like mandatory. Like, I think every post has to have a title. So you may not be able to take all of this out, but you could certainly, add things. And but I have a kind of an easier way to add and take away things, so I usually don't mess with this part in the PHP. Exclude from search, false, capability type. So this is the type of, it's a post. So we're going to rewrite the slug, right, so to ministry tracks, and we're going to, this is the important thing for the REST API. Do we want this to show up and be accessible from the REST API? Yes. And do we want this to show in the menu? Yes. I'm pretty sure that it's been a long time since I messed with this to check it, but I'm pretty sure this is like show in the admin menu. So like here in the menu. So yes, we obviously want it to be here. So that's it. That's all it takes to do a custom post type. So I'm going to save this. Unfortunately, I am not able to get into the server right now. So I was hoping that I could just kind of edit this, like, not that this would be a great idea, but I was going to kind of just cowboy code this and edit it live, since it's like, it's really basic. There's very little chance of me breaking anything, since it's just a really repetitive task, copy and paste. So normally you wouldn't want to edit things live, but in any case, I'm actually going to have to copy and paste this and then add this in. So if you've never added a plugin to WordPress, kind of the weird way to do it is I actually go into the plugin section and I find my plugin, which is here, and you can edit it. Now, I think you have to be an administrator, so not every user can do this, which is a good thing. So all those people who I talked about that are going to be editing this, they won't be able to do this. So if you're making a WordPress site for a client, definitely block stuff like this out for them, so they can't come in and mess with these, because they can definitely break your site. So I'm just going to paste in everything that we did, which this, like, I can't stand like having to copy and paste stuff when I'm working on a thing, but oh well. We will check here, and look, now we have ministry tracks. So if we go here, we can add a ministry track. Right now I haven't set any of the stuff that we need. I may not actually have to set anything custom here because we, if you see the site, what do we need here? We need a title, and we just need content here. That's all we need for right now. At some point later on, we might need to add an image somewhere, but by default, this comes with a featured image, so we can just use that. But for right now, I don't want there to be an excerpt, and I don't want some of these other fields to show that don't really make any sense in a headless CMS. So there's going to be a field, like if I were to put something here and save it, there'd be a field to preview, and it would show like what the URL is going to be. I don't want that, because if you click it, it's not going to show this site. It's going to show what it would look like if we were actually using a WordPress theme. Usually I don't even have a theme. I just block everything. So if you try to go click that, it will show you a blank page. Occasionally I have it redirect to the Rick Astley video for fun, but not on an important site, not on a client site. So, all right. Before I show you how to add custom fields and take them away, I'm just going to check the live chat briefly just to make sure that you all are with me. Let me scroll a little bit, see what I've missed. A few questions. I'll answer a couple of them while I'm here. There's not a lot. Andre, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. It's Andrei. Let me know how to pronounce that, and I will make sure I pronounce it correctly. It says, why would someone pay a developer to code him a website when he can make his own with WordPress? That's a good point. To be honest with you, for some people and businesses, it does make more sense for them to try to just do some type of simple site with WordPress, or with, there are other things like, Squarespace, or, there are a lot of different services where you can go and just kind of drag and drop, build a website. Honestly, if you're just going to do a personal blog and you're not really making money off it, then no, don't pay a developer. And I mean, I'm a developer, so I mean, I want people to pay me to make sites, but realistically, it doesn't make sense. If you're a small business and you need something very simple, let's say you're from an area where, for instance, the area where I live is predominantly elderly. So the population demographics here are just like really, really skewed in favor of people over 60. It's just the economy is really bad where I live, so most of the people, when they graduate from high school, they leave because they can't find a job here. So that's how it is. So when I talk to people like a small local business and they want to know about a website, my advice is sometimes, you don't want me to do a website for you because you're not really going to make that money back that much. Your clients aren't going to be using your website that much. If you have a presence on, Google Maps, that's what you need. So I'm only talking about really small clients. They don't have a lot of money. So, I mean, obviously bigger companies should have a website. It should be a good website. It should not just be, a regular default site, and they should have somebody that's a professional working on it. So that said, for this site in particular, it needed to be better. I think I mentioned it earlier. So this site needed to be more than just a normal WordPress site. So that's why I did it like this. And there's some other, good answers as well that other people added to that. Uniqueness is one. I mean, yeah, if you have a unique site that's well done, it definitely just adds, at least in my mind, if I go to somebody's site, a company's site, if it's just basic WordPress site, I don't think badly of them. But if I go somewhere and they have a site that's like, wow, how did they do this site? And I want to inspect the code and see, like, this is really cool. For puts puts the thought into a site and has put the resources into doing something like that. So not everybody's probably like that, but it makes a big impact on me. And your site, I mean, consider your website like the online home of your business, the online location. So for some companies, they could do with just a generic looking, building to do their business in, right? But for some businesses, they want to stand out. They want to have nice architecture, nice decorations, right? That's kind of the difference, is between, I just have a little shop that looks like all the other little shops on the street, or I have a place that people look at and are like, wow, they walk in and it just attracts people because of how nice it is. So that's kind of the difference. And if you want that, you need to hire an architect that knows what they're doing and has, some creative ability, and an interior designer, and decorator. So hopefully that answered your question. I probably spent too much time on that, so sorry if I kind of over answered that. Let's see. So I'm just getting through. I'm almost to the end here of what's on the live chat. All right, so here's a question. So Daft Derp says, is it better to have a main parent component and render that to the DOM, or is it just the same to have many parents all separately rendered to the DOM? Main parent component, I'm not like 100% sure how to answer the question. Let me just show you. I haven't showed you any of the React stuff yet, so let me just briefly kind of show you how a page works. And it doesn't have to work like this. This is kind of how things work in Next when you're using Next to build React stuff. But like this is my index. So within this index file, and like I said, maybe I'm not really answering your question here, but I'll give it a shot. Within my index, this is not a good example because I'm not pulling in any other components really. Let's go to resources. That's a better example. So I'm importing all these other components, these child components, and I'm pulling them in. So, the sticky nav components here, the title components here, all the cards that I have on the page, we're just iterating over this data and then adding these cards to the page, and that's a separate component. So that's how I've been doing things. I'm sure there are other ways to do things. Hopefully that clarified a little bit. Let me know if it didn't, and I'll try later on maybe to give you a better explanation. I had asked a few minutes ago about like using the hyphen or the underscore for PHP, and it seems like the underscore was kind of the way I should have gone. And Jake says the underscore is the way to go, but then you have an underscore in the URL, and you don't want that. So actually, now that you say that, I remember that is the reason. That is the reason why I did it like this. And not on this site, but I don't know, like months ago when I first started working with this, I had used underscore, and then I didn't like. Then I ended up having to use underscores later on in other places, and I didn't want to use underscores everywhere. So that's why I did go with the hyphen. So thank you, Jake. Reminded me of that. And Patrick says, Rick rolling clients priceless. Yeah, it is pretty funny. I actually I think I got my boss with that before. Yeah, it's funny. But I normally, I don't do that for client sites. But I think I may still have some WordPress installs where if you try to go to like the admin page, you get rickrolled because I've changed the URL for the login for the admin just to mess with somebody who might be trying to like get into my site and they're not supposed to be in there. All right, so let's get to I don't want to get completely off track here. Where are we going? Here we go. Let me show you how we're going to customize this for editing. So I have a plugin called Advanced Custom Fields, and it gives me this extra menu item. There's a pro version of Advanced Custom Fields, but there's a free version. In this case, the free version does everything that I need it to do, so it's fine. I have used the pro version in other sites, and it has some functionality that if you need it, it definitely saves you time and it's worth the money. I think it was like $25 per site, or you could pay $100 and use it on as many sites as you wanted. I think it was in Australian dollars too, so I'm not sure what that came out to in US dollars. I think it ended up being cheaper in US dollars, but at least at the time. So let's go into, we're going to add new, and you could just title, let's go ministry, tracks, info. I will say this, everything I'm about to do with this plugin, you can do in PHP and just code it yourself. I found that was would take too much time for me just because of my lack of experience with PHP. If you're good with PHP, give it a shot, and that's one less plugin you have to worry about. But I this is nice. This works. It's free. It's a well-maintained plugin, consistently updated, so I definitely recommend it. And I get no... I'm not sponsored by this plugin, so this is an honest recommendation. I get nothing for that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say when the post type equals, right, so when it equals ministry track, okay, then all this stuff that we're about to do will apply. Okay, so we're going to apply it to just that one, and we have some options as to where this is going to display. It's not really a big deal. It's your preference. Usually if the field is like really important and I don't want people to miss it, I put it high right after the title. But you can put it anywhere you want. This like display style is totally up to you in terms of your preferences. I found that the seamless kind of looks cooler, but the standard fits in better with WordPress, so it's like it looks more like it's supposed to be there. And then here's the place where we can actually hide a lot of stuff that we don't need. So I'm just going to hide everything for now because we're only going to show a few things. So we don't want the permalink, as I said, because it'll take them to the wrong place and it'll be misleading. We do want the content editor for this post. I don't always add this in, but we want that. We don't want the excerpt. We don't want any of the normal custom fields because we're going to add our own custom fields here. We don't want discussion comments because we're not going to have people be commenting on this custom post type. We do want revisions so that they could go back and see what's been changed. We do want the slug in case I need to double check what the slug is, if I'm trying to troubleshoot something. We're going to keep the author, and that way people can see who's worked on that post before. We don't need format because that has to do with the layout of a WordPress theme, and we're not using the WordPress theme. We're going to keep featured image because at some point I think we're going to add images to that section, so I'm just going to leave it in there for now, even though right now if you put an image in there it wouldn't display at all on our site. In fact, we haven't linked this up to our site at all, so it is actually not going to display. Depending on, we're not going to have time in this stream, but maybe in a future stream we can link this up. I know I've already showed how to do that in a previous stream, but maybe it would be cool to have like the whole thing in order now. We'll see. Let me know if you're interested in that. We are not going to add any categories or tags at this point. We could always add it in later, but I don't really see any need for this because of what we're going to be using this for. We don't need that. If this were more like a blog style thing, we would leave these. And we don't need the trackbacks. So we've got rid of a lot of the stuff on the page. If I wanted to do a custom field, which I don't need for this one, but let's just say, I go here to add a field. I can add a label, so I'm just going to do some nonsense here. It gives it this field name. This is the name of the field that will show up in the JSON. So let me show you. I think I had it here. So like anything that you put here will show up under this ACF section in your JSON, and this is the name. So you'll need to use this name in your API call, and then no, not in the API call. You'll need to use this name when you're rendering out the contents of this. So you can choose a field type. So a lot of different things you can choose from. And then if you get the pro version, there's even more. You can have some instructions. So this is really important if you're making it for clients. Really spell out exactly what you want in that field and how you want it to be formatted. You can make it required or not. You can give it a default value, placeholder text, right? So you can even set, okay, where do I want this text to go? So really kind of nitpicky things as to how you want to align this, but it might be important. This, I almost always choose no formatting, unless there's some really good reason why I want people to be able to use HTML in whatever text area that is. Okay, so normally, no, I don't use that. And occasionally you do want a character limit. So for these, I don't need a character limit, because if you remember on the page, we're just showing and hiding them. So it's really not going to be a big deal to have them be super long, because they won't be immediately displayed to the user. It won't make the page really long. So we're not going to have a character limit there. But I would recommend this for things that you don't want to make super long because it would look bad. Put the character limit in there. And then usually people who don't know about websites have a tendency to write way too much text. And in general, on a website, you want less text. Unless you're writing a blog post or something, then that's understandable. But if it's on like your home page, or just skip out. People never read all the text anyway, so try to keep it short and to the point. So that's basically it. I would add this field, and I don't really want to keep it, but I'll just add it just for demonstration purposes. And I'm going to publish this. Now when I go back up here to ministry tracks, and I go to add new, we can see it looks a bit different. We don't have the excerpt anymore. Actually, there's no option to get rid of these sharing buttons. This is not going to hurt anything, but actually if I can figure out how to get rid of this, I may as well, because it's kind of pointless and it might just be distracting. So basically we have all we have is just what we wanted to include: our title, our content, our main content editor, and then here's our field. So we added one field here, and then we just added another one and just left it blank. But that's where they would go. Like if we wanted to, we could have this display up here. But that's it. You can see it looks like it's meant to be there. It blends in really well with everything. And that's where you'd add it. So at this point, what I would do to kind of complete this process for this post type is I would go in here, and basically at this point I would probably copy and paste, or I would probably have somebody else do it, because that's a little bit of kind of a waste of my time to just copy and paste. So if I had maybe like a student worker who needed to get some hours in, and maybe I would have them copy and paste this into here, fill out all the tracks. Once I have the data in there, then I would go in and pull this in. So just like I'm doing here with these resources, where I make a call to the API here with fetch, and then I get that data back. I showed you what the JSON looks like, and then I use that data down here to populate the page. So that's what I would do for the page, the courses page with the ministry tracks, exactly like that. So you can go on GitHub right now and check out this code and just kind of see what the next step would be, just by checking out one of the pages where I'm actually importing data, where you see this get initial props at the top of the component. So that's it. So I've come in at just slightly over an hour. So we kind of hit our goal today of being about an hour. I am going to keep going for a couple more minutes just to answer your questions. So if you were only here for the code, you can stop watching now. And thanks for watching. But if you do have a few more minutes to stick around for some questions, go ahead and put your questions in the live chat, and I will try to answer as many as I can, as best I can. And if you don't want to put your question in the live chat, if you're a little nervous about that, you can put it in a direct message to me on Twitter. My Twitter, a link to my Twitter account is in the description for this video. Or if you can't stick around for the answer, you can put the question in the comments to this video and I will get to it. I do read all your comments and everything that everyone sends me. I read it all. Sometimes it takes me a few days to get to it, but I do read it all and I will respond. All right, so let me get to some of this live chat. Let's see. There's not a whole lot here, so the question and answer session might be pretty short today. Which that's fine, because so some of you evidently are like staying up really late to watch this because your time zones are a lot different than my time zone. So I appreciate that you like the stream enough to stay up like that. But I don't want to keep you up too late every night, so I'll try to be shorter than normal. Let's see. I'm going through. I'm trying to find a question here that I haven't already addressed. So haven't found very much yet. Okay, Sebastian asked, can't you redirect wp-catechetics.com to the real site? Yeah, so I've thought of that before. So just for some context here, I had said before that on the WordPress, so like normally when you do something in WordPress and you save a post, there'll be a link here where you can check out your post or preview. So there's a preview button, you preview it. With the way I've set it up here, if you click this preview, it's going to take you not to the site that you should go to, not to catechetics.com, but it's going to try to take you to the site that would be there if we were using the WordPress template. And I usually just completely disable the template, so it'll basically take you to a blank page. But, at best, it's just, it's misleading. For people try to click that and they think, oh wow, this isn't what it's supposed to look like, or they think, hey, this site is broken, what happened? So I just take that out. I mean, I can take out the preview button if I really wanted to get into editing, but I'm not super worried about that right now. Sebastian is saying, couldn't you just make all that redirect to the right place on the actual catechetics.com site? And I think that's probably possible. And I'd like to do that. There's actually another site that I did, and I can't show you. It's like an internal website, and my bosses want it to be, they want it to stay private. It's basically just an internal bulletin. Realistically, like 90% or more of the content, there's no reason why it couldn't be public, and it probably is public elsewhere. But I'm not allowed to show it. But I will say that the person in my department who has to input content for that has requested before that exact feature be there, that she can preview what it's going to look like. So I'm working on a way to do that. I would like it to be able to, for there to be a feature where she can upload things and be able to preview it and see it on a page on the site. I didn't actually build it with React. I made like a single page app, but I did it in like jQuery, which that site was kind of small enough that it wasn't too much of a mess, but I wouldn't want to do that again. That was before I was confident enough with React to build it. So I'd like to make like a page that only she would be able to see, that she would be able to preview. Because right now, if she puts something in, it's live. So like it may only be live for a second, but she has to make it live to see what it's really going to look like, which, I mean, that's not really a good option. So, I mean, I definitely should have, in hindsight, I should have made that so that there was some type of preview feature built in. But it generally works. There's not really a lot of leeway with how you can enter the content for that site, but I'm definitely working on that. And if I get a solution to it, maybe I'll show you like on a demo site since I can't show you the actual site, because that seems like it would be valuable if you're trying to have a similar setup to this. All right. Okay, so Daft Derp said that did answer his question. So that question was about. I almost called you a he. I'm not sure if you're he or she, so sorry about that. So Daft Derp asked a question about how you set up, how you render the components and things in React. So I'm glad that did answer your question. Thor is here. He said he nearly missed it again. Sorry you're missing it. Is it? I don't know why you're missing it. Is it a weird like? It's usually at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So for some reason it seems like you're coming in an hour late. Is that like you just can't make it earlier or what? How to make one-to-many relationship between custom posts. So Andrew asked how to make one-to-many relationship between custom posts. Andrew, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. If you're still watching, could you explain a little bit more? Because I'd like to answer your question, but I don't think I understand it well enough right now to give you a good answer. Thor says it's 9 p.m. here, so not really a problem. All right, so since it's 9 p.m. there, tomorrow start watching at 8 p.m. there, and then you'll be here on time if you can. Also, for those of you who are watching really late all the time, there may be some times where I have to do an earlier stream, so that might be more convenient for you. I'm thinking like there are definitely going to be some Mondays where I'll have meetings at 1 that'll probably go really long, so I'll probably have to switch it up. So far, I've been able to skip some of those meetings because it wasn't really relevant for me, but I think I'm going to have to start going to a few of them. So just heads up on that. So there will be a little change in time, but that might be good for some people. Maybe some people that can't normally watch live may be able to. Jake says, nice job, Jesse. I think you cleared some concepts that took me quite some time to figure out on my own. Awesome. I'm glad I could be of some assistance to you, Jake. Rohan says, today is stark contrast to yesterday's. It's just 12:35 a.m. We went to 2:10 a.m. yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was super long. I was actually super exhausted. I remember yesterday I said I had to go to the store and pick up some stuff. I was so exhausted after the live stream yesterday that I didn't. I went home and just relaxed because I couldn't even make it. I was super hungry and tired, and I thought, I'm not going to try to go to the store now. I'll probably buy everything and because I'm so hungry and tired. Let's see. Thor asks, why are you using WordPress? Okay, sorry. There's one before that. So Smilers asks, what application is it? I'm not sure what you're referring to. I think I'm missing something. So Smilers, what type of redactors? Oh, okay. What type of redactors using for code? You mean my code editor? If you mean my code editor, I'm using Atom. If you mean like the framework, I'm using React on the front end side of things to render everything, and then I'm using WordPress to manage the content. But I'm not using the template system that WordPress has. So. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if it didn't. So Thor says, why are you using WordPress for this purpose? Is there nothing better for this? For example, a simple Django application or something like this. The two main reasons why I'm using WordPress for this is, number one, because a lot of people who have no experience at all with code are going to be editing this, and there's going to be a high turnover rate for people who are editing this, so they need to be able to be trained very quickly and use this. So WordPress is very user-friendly in that way. The second reason is because this site was a really tough schedule, I didn't really have time to learn anything, and I don't know something like Django. I have done this exact thing with WordPress in the past, so I knew that I could get it done on time if I did it this way. So that's generally not a great idea to use something just because, hey, I know how to do it, I'm just going to keep doing it this way. But in this case, it actually did work out well for the project. So if on future projects, if I have more time and it would work out better, I'm definitely open to using something other than WordPress for content management. Actually, let me know in the live chat or in the comments what you would recommend using. If we weren't using WordPress, what should have been used? What do you think? And maybe if I get some time, I'll check out your suggestions and see, because I'm certainly open. WordPress is a little bit of a resource hog. It can be on the server, so something more lightweight, as long as it's still user friendly for people who don't know about code. I would definitely be open to using. The other thing is WordPress has a huge user base, and there's a lot of great documentation on it. So that's really helpful for me at times when I need to do some custom things with it. Hooligan Soft says, hey, what's up? Thanks for watching. Thor says, testing in production is great. Yeah, I don't have a copy of the WordPress install either locally or on another server. I'm thinking about getting one. It's probably a good idea to get one. I probably should do it, but I just don't have it set up right now. To be honest with you, I'm a little bit intimidating with the idea of, like, how do I sync up the database? Do I have two separate databases and try to keep them in sync? Do I pull from the same database? But if I do that, is that really like a decent development environment? You know, because so whatever. I don't know how to do that. There is somebody else. Brian works with me here, and he has worked more with stuff like this and using WordPress and databases. So I'm gonna maybe talk to him a little bit about that and see what he recommends in terms of having a testing environment or testing development server. And if you all have any input on that, I would appreciate it as well, because I probably should have it. In general, you should never be editing a site live if you don't have to, if it's not an emergency. Hooligan Soft says, can you make tutorials for making WordPress theme from scratch? That would be really cool. Unfortunately, I don't think I could make a good tutorial on making a WordPress theme from scratch, because to do a theme from scratch, you have to have some knowledge of PHP, at least enough to do the WordPress PHP thing, and I'm not confident in my skills to do that. So I do know how to do a lot of customization from scratch. I have built a really basic theme from scratch before, but that was a long time ago, so I don't think I could do it justice. I wouldn't feel comfortable putting out a tutorial like that. I mean, you all know, I attempt a lot of things where I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm not opposed to doing that, but to actually do like a from beginning to end tutorial on something, I would want to be more knowledgeable. So but if anyone else knows of a good tutorial to make a theme from scratch, please let us know in the live chat or in the comments, so that that can be a nice resource for whoever needs to do that. Rohan says, I don't know how WP handles content, but you can have an internal temp entry and use preview to generate page from that. Okay, that's interesting. I will have to keep that in mind and maybe look up some more on that. I'm just thinking about that for a second. Okay, thank you for that suggestion. Andrew says, is front end served by WordPress or some Node app? It's a Node. It's a Node app. So Andrew, I'm using so WordPress lives on one DigitalOcean droplet, and then on another droplet, well, really two other droplets, I have clones of a Node app. It's React that actually renders all the data that it's getting from WordPress through the WordPress API. And there's a load balancer that just shifts traffic between those two copies of the Node app. Another thing that I didn't mention when I was talking about WordPress that I'll mention briefly, I just remembered, the cool thing about using the WordPress API for this is the same content that you put into WordPress you can use for your website. You could potentially add a theme onto this and have a traditional WordPress site if you wanted to. There's nothing stopping you from doing that as well. You can pull the data into anything that can get anything that can use an API, a REST API, and can process JSON data. So, and any app, probably some Internet of Things stuff. I've actually had an idea to make an Alexa skill for the Amazon Echo that would pull data from the WordPress API and like read you the blog posts. So I don't know if somebody's already done that and you know about it. Let me know, and then maybe I won't do it because it's been done already. But if it hasn't been done, I'd like to do it. And or if you want to take my idea and do it first, just let me know because I think it'd be cool just to use. I won't be mad if you steal my idea. But that's kind of cool that you could use it in a lot of different places. So the data all lives in one place and it's all easily editable. And like imagine like if you wanted to keep everything in your organization all synced together in terms of the, you know, let's say you had like a business and you wanted like your times that you're open, or even like, I don't know, say your restaurant, you change your menu frequently. Well, you change your menu here in one place and it automatically syncs to, you know, your app. Let's say you had an app. I know this would be weird for a restaurant to have an app too, and an Alexa skill and all this, and now all of a sudden all the data is updated instantly everywhere. There's definitely some value in that and can save whoever's editing your content, it saves them a lot of time. All right, let me continue on. I'm nearly at the end here of the live chat, so the stream is getting longer, and in spite of my efforts to make it shorter today, it keeps going longer. So sorry about that. I just, you know, I don't want to leave you all hanging if you have questions. So I definitely, let's say this, I want to try to cut it off at an hour and a half. So that'll be in 10 minutes. We'll cut it off, even if I haven't gotten through everything. And then maybe I'll just try to answer your questions, like maybe at the beginning of the next stream, like tomorrow's stream, if I don't get to them all. Let's see. Thor asks, we'll try. It's not a time problem or something. It's just probably remembering it. Should probably set up a reminder event or something. Oh, okay. All right, cool, Thor. That's... so Thor was talking. That's what we were talking about. The time that he was kind of late getting in here to watch it. So it's just a remembering thing. So cool. If you're not already subscribed to the Free Code Camp channel, I think they'll. If you have your notifications turned on and you subscribe, I think they will alert you. So you'll get, like, if you have the YouTube app, it'll alert on your phone. You'll get a notification. Or it can do like desktop notifications as well. So that might be helpful to you. I also post on Twitter usually like beforehand. So that could be another reminder. Andrew says custom post, author, custom post, book, add books to author. Okay. So Andrew's clarified his earlier question about how to make relationships between custom posts. So yeah, this is possible. Let me think for a second, because I have worked with this sort of thing before. It's been a long time, so let me just think for a second to make sure I remember what's going on. Okay, so here's what you can do. I believe in WordPress you can make, so you would have the two custom posts, right? Author and book. Books to author. How did I do this before? You know what? I think I didn't solve it in the best way. So I wanted to be able to add books to author and link it, but I think what I ended up doing instead was... Did I make a taxonomy? I may have made a taxonomy or something. So I don't think I solved it correctly, but I think it's possible. I don't know how. I can't remember exactly how I did a similar thing, so I don't want to give you an answer. So, sorry I can't give you a good answer on that, but I can tell you that I'm almost positive that it's possible, because I did look into it before. I either couldn't get it working, or it didn't seem like I needed it that much that it was worth the time. But I mean, that's definitely something that comes up. So I'm sure the answer is out there. Jake says, Luca, Node is pulling data from WordPress API. Okay, awesome. So Jake had already answered the question, so sorry, I should have read ahead, and then I wouldn't have had to answer that. John says, I'm late, frowny face. All right, so sorry, John. You can watch the replay. The replay will be... Oh, man, so we had a couple people who were late. So the replay will be available in like a minute after I end this stream. So, I mean, if you want to participate in the questions and stuff, just add them in the comments below the video. Andrew says, WordPress gives you fast bootstrap for backend and already has JSON API enabled with all endpoints. Yes, excellent. That's a great point. Yeah, you don't have to build any of that. It's just there. And if you're using like managed hosting or like GoDaddy or something like that, they're like regular shared hosting account. There's usually a one-click install for WordPress, and it takes 5 minutes. So in 5 minutes, you have a REST API. That's really easy. So I'm sure there are probably better ways to build an API, but if you don't know how to do that or don't have time to mess with that, then I mean you can't beat that. That's just simple, really simple. Thor says, okay, thanks for your answer. Never heard of people using WordPress for this purpose. Just wondering. Yeah, it's kind of newer. The WordPress API has been around for a couple of years, but it's been in like beta stage for a while. It's only within the last year, I think, that it's like officially part of WordPress core. It used to be you had to get a separate plugin and enable it and stuff. So for a while there, it was recommended not to use it on production sites. I did still use it anyway because in my experience, like it worked. There were very few breaking changes that ever occurred. And if it did happen, it was well documented. So I never had a problem with it, but it's only recently that it's I think like at a stable enough point that a lot of people are starting to use it. Andrew says, yes, it's a good practice to keep staging and production, even local, in sync. Yeah, that's the goal. That's what I should have set up. So I pretty much have that for the Node part of this, but just not for the WordPress part. Andrew says, this is how WordPress takes templates in theme. I'm not sure what that was in response to, Andrew, so I don't remember, what I was talking about at that point, so sorry. Jordan says, what size droplets do you use? Actually, so this is really cool. Rohan says the stream keeps dropping. I haven't been watching the stream stats, so I didn't see. Sorry about that. Actually, that's weird. Okay, sorry it was dropping. Right now it seems it's holding. I'm at like over 5,000 kilobits per second, so it should be good right now. So sorry about the drop. Obviously I don't really have control over that connection, but I usually have a really good connection at work. So Jordan, the droplet size, I'm using $5 droplets for everything. So the two clone like Node droplets are both $5 droplets, and then WordPress is on a $5 droplet. Usually it's recommended not to go with the $5 for WordPress, but because I'm using it in this way, just the headless part of WordPress, and it's not having to do any like rendering of templates at all, I've found that I can get away with putting WordPress on a $5 droplet, and it's still really fast, and it holds up. There'll definitely be a point where if I get too much traffic, I would have to upgrade it, but that's actually been really nice that I'm able to run it on a $5 droplet. I'm also going to take advantage of, once all the post types and everything really get built out, I'm going to turn on caching for the API, and that's going to decrease the load on WordPress even further. And then I do have caching set within Node at the server level, and then there's also caching going on the client side with the service worker. So there are 3 levels of caching. If I have time, I may even route this through Cloudflare. And so there will essentially be 4 levels of caching going on. So if a request even got all the way back to WordPress, it would be somewhat rare. So it will allow me to run these on very cheap droplets. because I'm kind of protecting them from the brunt of all the traffic that you would normally have on a WordPress site. So for right now that works. I think it's pretty cool that I can run it on lower droplets. I mean, not that I need to. I'm sure, for this project there was a budget that was large enough that I could have done a larger droplet, but there's really no reason to. This site is running very quickly. At least for me, from my testing, it's been running very quickly, and the API calls are coming back, very, very fast, within milliseconds. Let's see. Jonathan says there's a PHP MyAdmin on your host server where WordPress is hosted. This gives you full capabilities to run SQL off the database on the back end as well. Yeah, actually, I don't have PHP MyAdmin installed when I run WordPress on DigitalOcean, so I'm not sure. I actually had my colleague Brian set up the WordPress instance, so he may have installed PHP MyAdmin or something like that. I'll have to ask him about it, but when I've done installs of WordPress on DigitalOcean, I haven't installed anything, and if I do need to mess with SQL, I've just done it from the command line, and that's worked for me. If you use a host like, for some sites I do have on GoDaddy, and I use SiteGround for some sites too. Those usually come with like cPanel and PHP MyAdmin, so that makes it a lot easier. If you have access to PHP MyAdmin and can use it, use that. It's way easier than the command line for that. Normally I do like the command line, but for doing database stuff, I don't like it as much. All right. Andrew says, last question for me. Do you sync your containers databases when using load balancing? Thanks. So no, actually. So the containers, so the node apps have no databases, and those two containers are where the load gets balanced between. The API calls all go to just one instance of WordPress, so there doesn't need to be any load balancing to there because obviously there's just one, and that's where the database sits. So no, I don't have to deal with syncing that to any of the for the load balancing purposes. Okay. Someone asks, and I can't pronounce this because it's in Russian, says, who is from Russia or who is speaking on Russian? Let's study together. So I don't speak Russian. If anybody else speaks Russian, then, get together. Maybe you guys can study together. Andrew says, better use MySQL Workbench app to connect to database instead of PHP MyAdmin, which adds load on your server. All right, good to know. I'll have to check that out. Andrew knows Russian. Awesome. Okay, and that's the end of the live chat. Did I make it? I'm 2 minutes over what I wanted to be. So almost made it. Lost track of time there at the end. So we have 32 viewers still, even after all that time. So a little bit lower than normal, but it's been a long stream. We have somebody joining us just now. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for watching. So I'll see you tomorrow. I don't think I have any meetings or anything, so it should be same time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks for watching, and feel free to ask me any questions, and I appreciate all the great interaction we've had in the live chat today. And anyway, for all the people that thumbs down this, I had one earlier. Please let me know why you thumbs down it. I won't be upset with you. I just want to make it better. So thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.